Namaste and welcome. Today we're going to go into some deep hip openers in the Yin style of yoga, which is a style that I've really come to appreciate and enjoy. It's longer held poses, and it's designed instead of working into necessarily the big muscles in the body, but working also into the ligaments and tendons and pulling apart any stretch, any tension that's built up, any emotional tension, any physical tension from injuries or just from living our lives. We all may be sitting a little bit more than normal these days, so I really want this sequence to help alleviate any of the pain that you may be feeling in your hips. If you have any props, a yoga block may be something that you can use, or even propping your hands onto a water bottle or something firm would work. A blanket or a beach towel underneath of your hips is also beneficial. We are going to be on the knees quite a bit during this sequence, so please take care of yourselves. I'll offer up some options for those of you who may be challenged to be on your knees for the time that we are calling for in this sequence. So take a nice deep breath in and find your way into a comfortable seated position, please. Maybe your hips sitting on the edge of your blanket. And just beginning to come into your breath. You can close down your eyes or turn your gaze towards the tip of your nose. And just imagining that your heart is like a magnet. And this magnet is pulling back all the parts of you that may have gotten pulled away from you because of any expectations, obligations, worries, anything that's pulling anything away from you. Just allow that to release so that you land here more fully, more present, more aware of the sensations in your body, and more aware of the power of your breath. Pulling in a nice deep inhale in through your nose. And exhale it out through your mouth. Another deep breath in through your nose, filling up the lungs and all the way up into the top of the collarbones. And just as slowly as you inhale, exhale the air out through your mouth. Deepest breath in yet, in through the nose. Hold the breath for just a moment at the top this time. And slowly exhale the air out. Bringing your palms together at your heart. Letting the thumb knuckles touch into your sternum, the elbows pushing out to the sides, and the spine lengthening. Notice the crown of the head reaching high as your sits bones are pulling down into the earth. Also, extra awareness to the energy that runs between your palms. Maybe a vibration or a warmth into your fingertips as you tap deeper into your life force, your prana. You can bow your eyes down towards your fingertips or close your eyes. And as you do so, imagining of indigo blue light, the color of the night sky, This blue light is emanating out from the space between your eyebrows, your Ajna chakra, your third eye chakra. And that light is shining into your fingertips, traveling down into your hand and into the thumb knuckles, and traveling up from your heart through the back of your neck, all the way back up, looping back into the third eye center. Keep the breath moving as you're imagining this loop that creates a sacred mind and heart connection. We spend so much of our time living in our mind, in our thoughts, that sometimes we believe that that is who we are, that we are defined by our thoughts and our beliefs. But by focusing on the awareness into your heart, you can drop a little deeper into your true essence. So from here, taking a deep breath into your heart, and exhale, let it out. And from this space of openness, setting your intention for our time together. An intention of presence, of love, of gratitude. Anything that brings you back into who you truly are and away from your thoughts. So either using one of the words that I suggested or coming up with one of your own. Take one more deep breath in. And exhale, let it out. Let your hands fall right onto your knees, so you're cupping the knees with your fingertips. And begin to circle the torso in a clockwise direction. These are called Sufi Rolls. You're just unwinding all the tension from the low body. Breathing in as you come forward and breathing out as you pull back. And now slowing it down and switching directions, counterclockwise direction. Maybe getting your neck involved as well by turning the gaze up or dropping the chin down. And then come back to center. Keep your hands cupped over your knees. Bend your elbows as you lift the heart high, arching the spine. And exhale, round the spine back, bringing your chin in towards your chest. And one more time, reaching the heart forward. And exhale, round your spine. Reach the heart up again, coming to a neutral spine. Take your legs over to the left and swing yourself into a tabletop position. I'd highly recommend taking a blanket, folding it over in thirds, and placing it underneath your knees. About, I don't know, maybe about 2/3 of the way down on your mat. So bringing the knees onto the mat. Shoulders are underneath the wrists. The knees are underneath the hips. Scrunch into the right side body so that you're pulling the right shoulder toward the right hip. Then exhale, bring it back to center. Same thing over to the left, scrunching in the left shoulder towards the left hip. Kind of like you're wagging your tail and wiggling the tail a little bit back and forth. And then coming back to your neutral spine in a tabletop. Maybe the knees will come a little closer together. Straighten the right leg back behind you and lift the foot off the mat. Feel the front of the leg, the front of the core engage, and bring the left arm forward. Your gaze will go down rather than forward. Like I'm pulling your wrist and your ankle apart from each other. Feel the length. Take a deep inhale and exhale, pull the elbow in towards your knee as you round your spine. Inhale, straighten. Exhale, round in. Inhale, straighten. And exhale, round in. Inhale, straighten. Now bend the right knee. Reach the left hand to the inside of the right ankle. You'll gaze forward as you flex your foot and push the foot into your hand. Exhale, bring the left hand down and the right knee down and sit back on your heels, even if you're on your blanket, sitting back on your heels in a child's pose. Maybe wiggle the hips a little bit from side to side. And lift yourself back up into a tabletop position. Making sure the wrists are still underneath the shoulders. Straighten the left leg back behind you. You can start with the toes down if you'd like, and then lift the toes off the mat. Bring the right arm forward as the gaze comes forward. Make sure your gaze is slightly down rather than lifted so that the back of the neck is lengthening. Pulling apart, like the right hand is being pulled forward by your wrist and the left ankle is being pulled back. Deep inhale in and exhale, pull the elbow in towards your knee. Inhale, straighten. And exhale, round in. One more time. Inhale to straighten. Exhale, round in. Straighten again. And this time you'll sweep the right hand behind you. Grab a hold of the inside of your left foot. If you can't quite make it, just take your right hand behind you and flex the left foot. Otherwise, you'll grab the left foot, flex it, and gaze forward so you feel the resistance of your hand, of your ankle into your hand, and the little arch in your spine. Gently bringing the right hand down, the left knee down, and sit back in a child's pose. Forehead comes down to the mat. Your elbows can be lifted or the elbows can be down. Now from here, walk both hands over to the right as you ground down through your left hip. Do you want your head equidistant between your arms? Some of you may be able to place the left hand on top of the right as you bring your forehead down towards your right knee. Breathing way down into the bottom of your ribs, especially on the left side. And exhaling, coming back through center. Crawl the fingertips a little bit more forward first, finding more length in the spine and using the heels of your hands to pull the shoulders down away from you so that you feel a deeper opening between your shoulders and your ears. Drop your head down. Now walk the hands over to the left, pushing the hips to the right. Again, the head is equidistant between your arms, and maybe crossing the right hand on top of the left. Ground through the right hip so that you feel the deep stretch through the right side body. Walk your hands back to center, back in your child's pose, please. Maybe at this point you can take your hands along your sides with the forehead down. Walk your hands forward again, coming back into a tabletop. One more warm-up sequence before we get into some longer held poses. I'm going to turn this way so you can see a little better. So we're going to thread the needle. So you'll sweep the right arm out to the side. Really important that you don't allow the hips to pull to the right as you lift the right arm up. So keep pushing the hips to the left as you reach up, gaze up towards your right thumb, and then thread the right arm underneath the left and come all the way down onto your ear. You can walk the left hand forward, making sure the underarm is pointing down rather than over to the side. You can also wrap the left hand around your back.
Feeling a nice opening in the outside of your shoulder as well as the space between your shoulder blades. Another way as well to really deepen the mind and heart connection, this time connecting the back of the heart. It's said that the back of the heart is where our true light exists, that little light inside of us. There is our real awareness, not our thoughts. So taking just a few more breaths here. And gently drop the left hand down. You'll sweep the right arm all the way back up, gazing up to the right. And exhale, bring the right hand down. Now shifting to the left side. The knees are underneath the hips. The hips stay square underneath of you as you reach the left arm up and gaze up. And exhale, thread the left arm all the way underneath, down to your shoulder, walking the right hand forward. Again, the right underarm pushes down, or you wrap the right arm around you back as you pull the hips slightly to the left. Right hand comes down to the mat and sweep the left arm up and open. Exhale, bring it down. And again, keeping the blanket underneath your knees. I'm going to move into lizard pose. I'm going to offer an option either down on your hands and down on your forearms, maybe on a block or something that could allow you to lift the elbows up a little bit, or on your palms. So starting from a tabletop position, you'll straighten the right leg back behind you, lift the foot off the mat, and gently sweep the right foot all the way to the right edge of your mat. The ankle is underneath the knee for right now. I like to tuck the left toes under, lift the knee up, and scoot the toes back so that I land more on the top of my knee rather than the middle of the knee, which can be a little more sensitive. Now for this first longer held pose, you're going to slightly pull the right knee in towards the right shoulder. Untuck the left toes. So again, option 1 is to stay here up on your hands. Option 2 is to bring the left forearm down and then the right. The right may lift up a little higher than the left, that's fine. And option 3 is to bring either your hands or your forearms onto a block or a couple of books or something that would allow the chest to rise up. Remember, we're going to be here for a long period of time, so a couple of minutes. So find something that you can sustain for that whole time. Palms are flat. Again, the right knee is pulling in slightly towards the center of your body. You can turn your gaze down or start to turn your head from side to side, loosening up the neck. And please do your best to find as much stillness as possible in the lower body. And breathe. You should be feeling this in the front of the left hip flexor, the back of the right hip. It's easy to get a little relaxed and let the foot splay out to the side. We're going to go there next. So please, if you can, stay in the posture where we are. Maybe for you, if your leg starts to roll out, you can lift back up onto your hands. You can also lift back up onto your fingers, onto your knuckles with the thumb knuckles forward if your wrists get a little sore. You're doing really well. We've got a little less than a minute left in this pose. So if you're newer to doing this yin style of yoga, it may feel really a deep sensation, and it may be challenging for you to find stillness. But the reason that we hold the poses for so long is so that the major muscles will start to relax. And that's how we move into the ligaments and tendons in the body. And releasing any energy, any energetic holds that have built up. So finding patience and bringing yourself back to your intention. Now lift your hands, lift yourself back up onto your hands. For a moment, we're just going to bring the weight over the left knee, bringing the right knee back slightly. And bring your hand above the knee and just start circling it a little bit in one direction, clockwise direction, to loosen up the hip. And then a counterclockwise direction. So next we're going to come to what's called broken wing pose. So you'll take your right toes and turn them out. You want the right ankle still underneath the right knee. Your left palm down to the mat. Maybe some of you will be able to come down onto your left forearm. Untuck the left toes and bring the right heel of your hand right to the inside of the knee, pushing gently so that you can gaze up over your right shoulder. This is a great stretch as well for the neck, so I encourage you to gaze over your right shoulder and then maybe turning your head over to the left, dropping it down towards your left, the chin down towards your left shoulder. Some of you also may be able to roll to the outside edge of your right foot rather than just turning the toes out. You're targeting the outside of the right hip with this pose. And finding a slight twist in the spine. Finding patience and loving kindness for yourself, for your breath, for your body, and for this nourishing practice that will help you release any excess tension in the body. Now, some of you at this point may enjoy coming down onto your left forearm. Again, using the right hand on the inside of the knee. Another option for a little more intensity is either on the hand or down on your forearm, taking the right hand behind you, bend the left knee, reach for the outside of the foot. So the right toes are turning out. The gaze is up over the right shoulder. This will also stretch into the left quadricep muscle, the front part of the left leg. I know for me, during this time of isolation and restriction on where I can go and the activities that I can do, that I'm spending a lot more time walking and running outside. So grateful that my body is healthy enough to allow that. But it's also causing a little more tension in my legs, especially in the quadricep. I am certainly feeling this stretch right now. So this is a great way as well for those of you who are out running or cycling or using some of the big muscles more so than you would in other activities that you like. So we've got 1 more minute left in this pose. You can back down if you'd like, coming back up onto your hand and bringing the right hand to the inside of the thigh. Or you can keep a hold of the left foot if you'd like. If you want to keep that intensity for the final minute. Again, turning your neck at any point to loosen it up. Deepening your breath. Just about 15 more seconds left on this side. And exhale, bringing the weight over the left knee. Swing the right knee back to meet the left for a moment. And sit back again in a child's pose, finding stillness, allowing all the rebound of that pose, all of the energy that got loosened up, allowing it to dissipate out away from your body. You can either bring your hands down and your forehead onto your hands, or keep the hands forward with the forehead down all the way to the mat. And lifting your chest back up, coming back into a tabletop position. The right leg is going to come forward, so it's the same leg. We've got a few more postures to do on this side before moving to the second. So with the ankle underneath the knee, either your hands on either side of the front leg this time. You can be on your knuckles with the thumb knuckles forward, or on your flatten your palms, or maybe lifting up slightly. And then starting to move the hands to just above the knee. Pushing the flesh of the right thigh forward. Feel a length in the front of the hip, as well as deepening the stretch in the front of the left hip flexor. Gaze is forward. Relaxing the elbows down by your sides. Sometimes I need a reminder of that one too. Any excess tension in the upper body that can be released can allow for the deeper relaxation into the lower body. So noticing if you are using muscles that don't need to be used, and release them. Allow them to be. You may really be feeling this in the back of the right hip as well. Perhaps even a compression in the low back. And to add a little more intensity for the final 45 seconds or so of this pose, you can drop the hands down to frame the front foot, tuck the left toes under, and lift the knee up. This is dragon flying high. So really engaging the back of the left thigh. This is definitely more of energetic, more of a yang heating up pose as opposed to a yin cooling down and more passive pose. And often working these two together can create the balance that's needed to really feel a deeper release. Starting to feel the shaking in the front of my leg, I imagine you are as well. And dropping the left knee down. We're going to go straight into half splits. So untuck the left toes, walk the hands back, and begin to straighten the right leg. Now some of you will have a bend in your knee. Others, you'll take a block or something that will allow your hands to lift up behind the right knee as you crawl the right toes forward and lift the toes off the mat. Be sure to tuck the right hip in slightly. Sorry guys, I'm trying to get my timer going here. If you don't have a prop and you feel like this is really intense, you can either lift your hands just above, just to the top of your thigh. I tuck the left toes under if you do that because you may lose your balance slightly. Or even opt to come down onto your back, grabbing either behind the thigh. You'll remove the blanket to the side, either grabbing behind the thigh or behind the shin and dropping the head and shoulders down to the mat so you're opening up the back of the hamstring. Pulling the right hip in slightly. And drop the right heel down. And now from here, we'll come to what's called overstepping dragon. Be careful if you have any issues with your knee. You may want to skip this one. What you'll do is pull the right heel back. So this time the knee will come in front of the big toe on the right foot. And just be here for 1 minute, stretching the back of the calf muscles. You can be on your hands again or up on your knuckles. You can keep scooting the left knee back a little further so you can really bring the weight forward. You'll feel this into your Achilles, the back of the thigh. I'm sorry, the back of the calf, spreading the toes nice and wide, stretching the space between your toes. Feet do so much for us. Really an opportunity to give back. Turning your head from side to side again. And bringing the weight over the left knee. Bring the right knee back to meet the left. And sit back on your heels in a child's pose. You lift yourself back up and we'll start on the second side. The blanket underneath your knees. Straighten the left leg back behind you. And you'll swing the left leg all the way out to the side. Ankle falls underneath the knee. Tuck your right toes under, scoot the toes back, and then drop the knee back down so that you're more on the top of your knee than the center of your knee. Untuck the back toes. And either up on your hands, again, slightly pulling the left shoulder in toward, the left knee in towards the left shoulder. Option to stay here on your hands or drop down onto your forearms. Relax your jaw. Deepen your breath. And less than a minute left. Feeling this deeply in the front of the right hip flexor, the outside of the left hip. Now bringing the weight back over the right knee, swirling the left hip in a circle. You can bring the right hand down as you do this, taking the circle with the knee in a counterclockwise direction away from you, and then in a clockwise direction towards you, just loosening up the hip. Bringing extra synovial fluid and all of the systems in our body that help to lubricate the joints. And now dropping the foot, bringing the knee underneath the ankle, turn the left toes out. You can stay up on your right hand as you bring the left hand to the inside of the knee and gaze up over your left shoulder. You can also come down onto your forearms. Or also roll to the outside edge of your foot. Another option is to come down onto your forearm. Again, the left hand on the inside of the thigh as you gaze up and over your shoulder. Or turning the gaze over to the right to stretch through the side of the neck. And for the final minute of the pose, if you did this on the first side, you'll take the left hand back behind you, maybe just keeping the palm facing in as you gaze up and back to increase the twist in the spine, or grabbing the outside of the right foot as you gaze over the left shoulder. Either on the outside edge of your left foot or with the toes turned out and the foot flat. Release the right foot down, bring the left palm down, and bring the knees together back into an extended child's pose. And lift back up onto your hands and knees. And swing the left foot back out to the side. Hands on either side of the left foot. Again, the right knee scoots back so that you feel the opening in the front of the hip flexor. Either hands on your knuckles on either side of the front foot. Or perhaps lifting them up just above the knee as you push the flesh forward. Gaze is straight in front of you, relaxing the elbows down by your sides, letting the legs feel grounded into the earth. And then for the second half of this pose, if you choose, bring the hands back down on either side of the front foot. Tuck the right toes under and lift the knee up. Dragon flying high. Really pushing through the right heel. Again, a much more active pose. You're welcome to drop the right knee down if you'd like. Squeezing the front heel towards the back ball of the foot will engage the center of your body a little deeper. Activating the deep hip flexor muscles. And then when we release back, they'll be more lengthened. You may start to feel some quivering in the legs. I know that I am. See where we are. Yeah, we have about 20 seconds left. Stay with your breath to keep you present. And dropping the right knee down. Start to bring the weight over the right knee. And you'll straighten the left leg out, scooting the toes a little more forward and lifting the toes off the mat. And pull the left hip in. Again, either hands by your sides. If you have a block available to you, you can place the heels of your hands on the edges of your block with a block behind your knee. You can also bring the hands, it's kind of challenging to balance doing this one, but so tuck the right toes under, bringing the hands just above the knee, or as I mentioned before, or demonstrated before, moving your blanket off to the side, coming all the way down onto your back, grabbing the back of your thigh or the back of your calf. You can keep the right leg bent as you do this one. The target area is the hamstring, the back of the thigh. Drop your head and shoulders down if you're down on your back. Now 1 more minute in this pose. Pulling the left hip in, making sure it's not jutting over to the left as it tends to do. So squeezing the inner thighs towards each other will help with that. Using the heel to anchor you down and then pushing gently back, and that will increase the stretch in the back of the hamstring. Soften your knee as much as you need. And pulling the left heel back, flatten the foot down. Hands will stay on either side of the front foot, overstepping dragon, the last of the dragon series. So really pulling the heel back, letting the knee come a little bit in front of the left big toe. The left knee comes in front of the big toe. Again, if you have any injuries with your knee, I would highly recommend either skipping this one or not having the knee as far forward. If you feel any pain, then please back out of it. And bringing the left knee back to meet the right. Options here are to stay in your tabletop and taking some cat-cow tilts, or walk the hands a little more forward and tuck the toes under, downward facing dog. It can be a shortened down dog, bringing the feet in a little closer and pedaling out the feet. Stretching through the back of the body, grounding through the heels of the hands, the knuckles, and the fingertips. You're walking your feet in slightly. If your blanket is in the middle of the mat, please move it off to the side. And then come down onto your knees, swing the legs out in front of you, and make your way onto your back, please. Pull the knees outside of your ribs. Roll a little bit from side to side, loosening up the low back. And from here, we'll take what's called twisted roots pose. So start by taking both feet up towards the ceiling. Maybe take a moment to roll out the ankles in one direction and then the other, loosening up any tension in the feet. And then you may need to drop your left foot down in order to scoot the hips over to the right, or using your palms, push down into the mat, lift the hips up and scoot them a little bit to the right. You'll cross the right leg way up on the top of the thigh and wrap it around the left, maybe wrapping around the outside of the left or behind the left calf, and then drop both knees over to the left as your gaze goes to the right. Another option, which is a little less intense, is stacking one knee on top of the other and still turning your gaze to the right. You can also place the block or a blanket in between your knees if this bothers your low back. Twisted roots. Nice opening in the front of the chest, especially if the shoulders can lie flat on the mat. If they're lifting up slightly, I would place the blanket, the edge of the blanket, underneath the right shoulder to support it. Roll yourself back onto your back, please. Taking the legs straight up towards the ceiling again. Wiggling the hips from side to side. And now either pushing through your palms or dropping the right sole of the foot down to move the hips slightly over to the left. The left leg stacks on top of the right and wraps around the back of the right calf, if you can. And dropping the knees to the right as your gaze goes to the left. Blanket can be right underneath the edge of your left shoulder if you're having a hard time keeping it down, grounded onto the mat. Right hand on top of the left knee. Gaze goes to your left. Deepening your breath again and remembering back to the intention that you set. The intention of love, connection, gratitude, whatever it was for you, whether it was a word or a sensation, grounding you deeper into the present moment. And unwinding your spine back onto your back. Happy baby pose, the final pose before we take a little time to rest in Shavasana. So bring the knees outside of the ribs, take the feet straight up towards the ceiling, grabbing the outside of the shins, maybe behind your thighs, but you really want to keep the back flat, not lifting the sacrum off the mat, but really flattening as much of your back as you can. Chin slightly into the chest, and maybe a little movement from side to side. Now bend your knees, pull the knees in towards your chest, wrapping the hands just below the knees and your forehead up towards the knees as you curl into a little ball. Point your toes and take a deep breath in. And then exhale, straighten the arms and the legs down, turning the toes out, palms facing up by your sides. Let go of any effort. And feel the weight of gravity pulling you down deeper into the earth. Shavasana. This is a really important part of integrating all the work that we've done. So honor yourself and your journey through this practice by staying present in your Shavasana. Begin to wiggle your fingers and your toes and start to lengthen your breath, please. Gentle sigh out through your mouth as you roll yourself onto your right side. Feeling the peace, the shift in your energies, the release of tension, and the sense of deeper presence within you. Carefully, mindful of your neck, keeping the neck loose as you bring yourself up to a seated position. Sitting with the legs crossed in front of you as we started. Allow the palms to come back together at your heart, rubbing the palms together a few times and then dropping them in to your heart. And one more deep breath in. And a slow exhale out.
May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be safe from both inner and outer dangers. May you be well in body and mind. And may you be happy and live with ease. Namaste.